Okay, I've had enough. I'm sick and tired of meeting people who are telling me that the Zeitgeist movement and the Venus Project is the way to go. I don't know where they got this idea. If you watch the movie Zeitgeist, it starts out with some really good stuff about religions being crap and all that. Great. It is crap. But then it sort of moves on to this other thing where it's called the Venus Project, and it's basically a utopia.
Ah, the old utopia argument. Well, let's analyze that for a moment. What is utopia, actually? Well, it's a word derived from Greek, and it was popularized back in the 15th, 16th century by Thomas More, and basically indicates a perfect state where everything is happy and unchanged, sort of like a Garden of Eden. And a resource-based economy is nothing of the sort. A resource-based economy represents an approach to societal administration which is based on the physical laws, natural laws, the understandings that are present at any given point in time in society. It has nothing to do with utopias. Utopia is a static state. It is a fantasy, and a resource-based economy is very far from a fantasy.
Where we're all supposed to live in the machine society, and where technology will solve every issue.
First of all, machines are everywhere. Just look around you. I mean, this is our technical reality in this day and age. We have come to depend on machines for a lot of things, and I am pretty sure that there's one or two machines in your household that you'd rather not be without. Most of them probably ones you don't even think about, such as those generating your electricity, your refrigerator, stuff like that. But let's not even go there. This is the technical reality that we live in. That's the first point. The second point is that a resource-based economy does not represent a robotic tyranny. It represents the intelligent application of technology in order to improve human life. I mean, any technology can be used in a good way or a bad way. It's not the technology that's the problem. It's not the robots themselves that are the problem. It's the way that they're being used. So what a resource-based economy does is it applies intelligently the technology and the science needed in order to maintain the balance, the equilibrium of the planet, in order to ensure that all the inhabitants live as positive and good lives as possible. That's it.
Well, I'm not a Luddite, but I do know that technology will never solve, just like religion will never solve any issue.
Okay, so now technology and religion is pretty much the same thing, because neither will ever solve any issue. I'm not sure what to make of that, but let's hear him out.
Every issue. Simple reason is that when you create more technology, you have to create more solutions to solve the problems it creates. If you look around in the world, so many, just about every environmental problem is caused by technology.
Ah, okay, I see where you're coming from now. Well, actually, every problem is not caused by technology. It is the application of that technology that is the cause of any problem you might have. So the causes of your problems do not have anything to do with the technological means themselves. It has to do with the application of them, and those problems stem from very, very different mechanisms than the technology itself. If you really analyze the major problems in the world today, they don't have anything to do with technology. They have everything to do with the way we administrate the resources of this planet. We have a global economic system today that favors competition, that favors stratification. And when you have a system like that, you will have those in power utilizing technology in very, very detrimental ways, because the objective is not to make sure that everyone's okay. The objective is to make as much profit as possible. And by profit, we're talking about something that doesn't have any relationship whatsoever to anything real or tangible in this world. So there's your distortion. The technology is not to blame. It's the administration of the resources, the gaming strategy, so to speak, that's the problem. So I'm sorry, but your argument isn't valid.
Venus Project claims to address that, but the price to address that is just basically serfdom in a kind of a Jetsons, Thunderbirds utopia, which is, utopias don't work. I grew up in a place called Ballymun on the north side of Dublin, which was touted in the 1960s as a utopia of the future, high-rise buildings and shopping centre in the middle and all these, roads and everything. And within 10 years it was an absolute slum, because the people who designed these utopias are the ones that don't actually live there.
Well, here I actually agree with you. You're absolutely right. The way that, especially in the 60s and 70s, these city planners try to construct these utopias that have, very much been inspired by the 50s and 60s, and you name the Jetsons and stuff like that. You have these futuristic visions of how people should be living, ought to be living, and they had these city planners basically constructing what we see as ghettos today, and they surely had it all wrong. I can definitely agree with you there. And understanding that you come from such an environment yourself, you grew up there, I can see your animosity towards that kind of thinking. However, what you fail to understand is that a resource-based economy has nothing to do with that. It doesn't plan in that way. It doesn't creatively come up with ideas that will magically solve all the problems. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
And how anyone who's, intelligent could actually think that something like the Venus Project is a good idea, I find that quite frightening.
Okay, so let's see. A near-empirical scientific approach to maximizing the life of everyone on the planet, ensuring dynamic equilibrium, ensuring the health of the planet, ensuring our future, really, is frightening.
Humanity doesn't work like a machine. I mean, I live in a crappy, tumble-down shack in the woods, but I put in my own central heating system. I can grow a few vegetables out the back. And that's real freedom. I can do basically what I want.
That's really amazing to me, how someone can think that because they built their own little house and put in their own central heating and grows a few vegetables somewhere, that's real freedom. I mean, to me that's just hilarious. And it just goes to show how really, really detached we have become. To equate that to freedom. Freedom is the ultimate realization of each human being's potential, and that's absolutely impossible today. Most of us, we don't have a chance. We haven't got the faintest idea of what freedom truly means. We're none of us free, and that's probably maybe the saddest thing really, is that people have this notion of freedom that is just so limited, it has nothing to do with true freedom. We have certain human needs, that's it. And if those needs are met, we grow up to become very, very good, functioning, altruistic people. If those needs are not met, we get all sorts of aberrated bullshit happening. It's really that simple.
You look at the Venus Project with its sort of like centralized system where everyone is connected to a computer inside these prefab little balls, and it's all done under the fakery of saving the environment.
Well, nobody's connected to the big central computer. Think of it as your own nervous system. What does the nervous system actually do? What does the immune system in your body do? It makes sure that everything's okay. I mean, if you cut yourself, the immune system immediately sends the red blood cells out to try and stop the wound. This is exactly the same thing. We have a global network of sensors that monitors everything so that we know the state of everything at all times. Let's say you have an energy deficit somewhere. You have one power plant going down. The other power plant will automatically route some of its energy over to that area, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty much like your immune system, like any autonomous system. That's the general idea of what the so-called centralized computer system is. It's not there to control people. On the contrary, it's there to free people.
It's Jonestown. It's a technical Jonestown.
Good one, dude.
The same thing that drove those poor people to Guyana to be slaughtered by Jim Jones. They weren't going there to create a utopia.
Once again, no one's talking about utopia. You are. A lot of people are. None of us are talking about utopia, so please stop equating this to utopias. There's no such thing.
It worked for the first 3 years, and then people who want to create utopias they're usually psychopaths. They're psychopaths who lure people in with these false promises of a brave new world. And like all psychopaths, they spend 2 or 3 years working on the project, and then when it's up and running, then they get bored, and then their real personality comes out. If you look at Jonestown, the first 2 years were actually very successful. They were growing the food and everything was working out, and it did seem to be this utopia. But like a lunatic like Jim Jones, as soon as the thrill of that was gone, like all sociopaths, psychopaths, they all think this way. They have a target they move for, and when it fails, then or not when it fails, but when they actually achieve it, then they move on to something else, and they just walk away, or else they destroy their creation. And Jim Jones did that at Jonestown.
Well, I can certainly understand how you come to those conclusions about the Venus Project if that is your train of thought and that is your train of reference. I mean, not a lot of what you just stated there is very accurate in terms of what really happened and what drives sociopaths and what drives psychopaths.
The same thing will happen at the Venus Project.
You know, it can be really frustrating to deal with these types of so-called debunking or rebuttals of what the Venus Project, the Zeitgeist movement, and a resource-based economy is about. But we have to deal with these things because our future depends on it. You know, there's a lot of bullshit out there, and there's a lot of very good knowledge out there. And I hope that you will go out there and seek it out. I hope that you will go out and debate these things with people. I hope that you will talk about it. I hope you will seek out your local chapter and make contact, talk to people. It's ordinary people just like yourself, and if we are to have a chance as humanity on the long term, we have to talk about these issues, and we have to realize that the planet we live on has some rules, and if we're not able or willing to live by those rules, to understand them, we can never achieve sustainable and healthy living on this planet. So I hope that you will check it out and have a nice life. Thanks.